seen the commercials for the new Transformers where it's just Mark Wahlberg being Mark Wahlberg and just being like slightly perturbed at everyone? He's just like yelling at dinosaur robot T-Rex and just like, come on, man, why would you pick up your truck with your jaws? Just Mark Wahlberging like it's not even a movie.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff each and every day. And we begin each episode as we do by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Hi.
Ruben Bressler.
Oh, hi, how are you guys?
Oh, hey. What's up?
Good to see you.
It's happy fun Magic Mics time.
Yeah, I'm just barely sort of getting over being a little bit sick today, so hopefully I can keep up.
The just barely sortas, right?
Just barely sorta a little bit.
Gotcha. You know,
so I'll try my best.
We begin each show nowadays with a sweet giveaway, and we wanted to give away, you know, when they say $15 deck box, it's a $15 deck box. It's an Ice Tower from Ultra Pro, and this deck box is super cool and super sweet, and I would love to send it to one of the viewers that are out there right now. We're going to pull the winner in about an hour, right before the show's over. We'll let you know. So I pasted the link in the chat. You guys should go and make it happen and do all the cool, fun stuff that lets you enter into the contest. We want to give it away. It's going to be awesome.
Nice.
So,
how often do you post the link to the thing?
2 or 3 times throughout the show, and I'll get around to posting on Twitter and stuff. However, we began as sort of a follow-up from last week. So, one of the big topics last week we talked about was the Magic Online Commander ban list, and how it felt really bad that the same ban list was used for 1v1 and multiplayer. The fact that Sheldon wasn't pretty much involved very much with said ban list, other than, you know, letting them know or whatever. And I may have been a little upset about it. Not much as upset as just kind of really confused as to why you have this set up, because it's strange or whatever. Anyway, so Wizards, whether or not it was us or anyone else, the point is that Wizards actually came out and said, we're now are going to have the, with Magic Online deployment of Our Devastation on July 5th, they're going to add another Commander format with a second separate ban list. Exactly what I suggested last week, which was multiplayer has a ban list, 1v1 has a ban list, Sheldon and company are all about that multiplayer and can help you with that ban list, which they're going to do. They're going to sync those things up. That's fan-freaking-tastic. That's fantastic.
You did it, Evan. You won Magic.
Woo! Look, all I'm saying is I feel like part of what we do here is we need to fight the good fight. And I feel like when I take Wizards to task the things, it's not because, you know, we're trying to be mean. Because we're trying to prove things.
We only roast the ones we love.
Basically. And there's another issue this week that we'll get to, but that's later. All I'm saying is, you know, as usual, I gotta pick up a flag and run with it. But it is fantastic to hear, no matter who influenced it, no matter what happened, I am very, very pleased that this is the end result. Aaron, are you going to be able to handle all the power that you now wield?
I mean, I've had that power for a long time. That's nothing new. I actually got some behind-the-scenes tea, though, regarding what happened. I can't name names. I just heard some
you heard it here first, though.
Whispers. So apparently, we had discussed this on the show, the idea that there was the possibility that Sheldon and the forefathers of EDH may not have been involved in this discussion. And Sheldon himself had even written a very murky post that was like, you know, we concur on these changes, but didn't really come out and say, yes, we were involved, or no, we were not involved.
Sure.
I have heard from various sources that they were approached multiple times regarding like input, getting input in this, and they didn't return the gesture. Where like people were like, hey, we'd like your input on this, and they were like, yeah, whatever. Like there was sort of like apathy. They didn't return calls.
Sure. I mean, on the one hand, that makes sense though, because again, these are two different formats.
But
right?
so that's what I'm saying is, when you see the public outcry, like when you see people saying, I think people really needed that. I think it would have been good for confidence, because I think that there were people that were very confused by all these changes. changes, and they were looking for someone like Sheldon, or they were looking for somebody like one of the originals to really come down from on high and say, it's going to be fine, we knew about this, just to sort of ease people's minds. And I think that seeing the way that people were responding, seeing like the confusion and the paranoia, and then writing this murky post of like, I think if that's true, like if they were asked to provide input and didn't, and then to sort of, not, put people at ease with this sort of opaque post, I think that was kind of poor. And I don't know, I just feel like they had a lot of power to calm people down when everybody was freaking out about this, if they really thought it was okay. And it seems like that might not have happened. So
wow. So you're telling me there might be another side to this story?
Maybe. I mean, it's there are two sides to every story.
There are three sides to every story.
Yeah.
Their side, the other side, and the truth.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for them, ultimately. Again, this is another one of these issues of like, how did we get here? This is a weird way to get here. They released like an announcement that didn't really make any sense, and then they walked it back, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't matter. Now that we're here, it makes sense. It's two different formats,
right? Being
governed by the two authorities on those two different formats. So I'm happy with where we're at.
And as people told me later, the 1v1 is mainly based sort of on the French commander, the dual 1v1 rules that they have set up, which is fantastic. If you're looking for a tinfoil hat that you need to get it snug. In the chat, someone noted, maybe they did it. Maybe the decision for it was so crazy, they wouldn't be surprised if they walked back this decision from the start, or they planned on it from the start to make themselves look good. And I'm like,
Listen, KP with the solid conspiracy theory there. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's stir that pot.
I love it.
There wasn't enough drama already in this sort of like, we asked for help and we didn't get help. Then people were like, well, why didn't you ask for help? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. Everyone's happy now, right?
We're good. Everything's good. Well done, Wizards. You did great. All right. Okay. So, Ruben, tell us about our next topic, which would be the tour, the SCG tour.
Oh, boy.
Season 2.
Right.
Happening.
I forgot that I have to do these. So
professionalism, folks.
Yeah, go take a nap. So the SCG Tour Season 2 of 2017 announcements came out from one Mr. Cedric Phillips, who's in charge of the media and all the things over there at Star City Games. And there were a lot of raised eyebrows about many facets of what's been announced here. So we're going to sandwich this. We're going to start with good, then we're going to go into the weird / bad, and then we'll end on good again.
Okay.
So we're going to start with good. Playmats are gorgeous. Look at these playmats they've attached here.
Bantu,
this is
yes.
Bantu, and then the Modern Open Series gets Spell Pierce, and then the Legacy and Classics get this like amazing Days playmat. Like the art that they managed to secure for the events are spectacular. And oh, by the way, for the team events, you get 3 team playmats, which reminds me that will be the end, the other bookend, which we'll talk about. But let me count here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 modern tournaments, and 2 standard tournaments.
Yeah.
Why?
So
is that a thing?
So when SCG decided that they were going to cut back on the legacy events, when they were going to cut back on the classics, part of the argument, and I was one of the people who voiced this on the show, was that standard attendance was down. Legacy attendance was also down, but a lot of people were quick to say that, your standard opens, there were a couple standard opens last year that only had about 200, 300 people. We talked about it on the show about how standard attendance is down across the board at PPTQs. There were some folks on Twitter the other day, Canadian folks, they were talking about their PPTQs not firing, FNMs not firing, all because it's standard. Standard across the board saw poor attendance in 2016, and I think that this is sort of a reflection of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's possibly, they were planning this months out, so they potentially didn't know that another banning was going to happen or something along those lines. But it's just very strange to me. And the other link could be that they don't want to directly compete with Grand Prix anymore, leaning more towards modern and less towards standard, whereas actual Grand Prix are the exact opposite. But that's not the only weird thing that I saw in this announcement. Moving from format to location, there are no events in Columbus, Ohio, which sometimes they run 2 in a season. There are no events in Cleveland either, I guess, and there's no event in Nashville, which is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I understand that they have to compete with location for other stuff, and the summer is convention season, and so they can't. They very rarely, if ever, put anything in Indianapolis during season 2 or season 3 because of all the convention stuff that happens. So I can get that on one hand. But the other scheduling thing that's weird to me is that the one Legacy Open that they have, Washington, D.C., October 28th to 29th, is that 1 week or 2 weeks after Eternal Weekend?
So weekend after Eternal Weekend, and I saw somebody, speaking of tinfoil hat, there were some Legacy folks that were even going so far as to say that SCG is sabotaging their own Legacy events by purposely scheduling them on holiday weekends. This is Halloween weekend, and so if you are, a lot of the older formats do tend to skew older players, people that have more of the income to drop a couple thousand on a deck without batting an eye. And I saw several people say, not only can I not afford to go, because if I had to choose between Eternal Weekend and this, I'm going to choose Eternal Weekend. But, there were some dads that were like, I got to go trick-or-treating. Like, I can't, I can't get away for this. And so it does seem like a really odd place to put a Legacy Open. And, to go back to what you said, Ruben, about the cities, I live in Milwaukee. We had 2 Opens last year. I can't think
There's
of a
no
year.
Chicago area. Anything.
Chicago, I think Cincinnati is the most west that's the closest that I can get to. So there definitely is a consolidation of location of just sort of this little cluster. The poor West Coast just has no chance.
Well, yeah, I mean, West Coast has never had a chance with the SCG Open Series ever since they sort of consolidated. But it seems like they've also, they've shapeshifted again in deciding which locations they want to go to, which folks they want to play in their events. Another weird choice for me was September 30th and October 1st, Dallas, which, I mean, I've had some experience at events in Dallas. They are not widely attended compared to Baltimore, compared to Columbus, compared to the, Chicago area, compared to D.C. And that's going to be at the beginning of a brand new format, is that Dallas Open. So that's another weird choice, in my opinion. I mean, obviously the scheduling science is not. I'm not a schedule scientist. Like, that's not a thing that I'm great at. Obviously, they had to work around a ton of stuff to be able to fit all these events in. But there are just some weird choices in the release of the schedule here. And the thing that I was going to end with was going to be that there are two different team opens, which that's the other great thing. There's July 22nd and 23rd in Atlanta, and then there's November 18th and 19th in Baltimore. And a cap of 350 teams, 1,050 players. Those events are where you're going to get your standard, right? That's where you're going to get your standard fix with all this modern and swimming around. But I think that those 2 events, and I'm glad that they listened. And with everyone saying we want more team constructed, that they were able to hammer out 2 in the next season. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, this whole thing, I was really happy with this announcement for the most part. It really does seem like Star City's done a really good job of listening to, what their players want. Modern is hot right now. If you look at the attendance for these events, there's no question that these events are going to do well. You look at the classics, you look at the opens. Modern, going back to that research we talked about earlier, Modern had consistently blown away Standard and blown away Legacy, and I enjoy Modern as well, and that's a really good thing. And I do want to focus on something else that I found really interesting. The 2 Standard Opens that we have are on release weekends,
right.
Which tends to be this very kind of Wild West, what are we going to see this weekend kind of time. And I enjoy that. I think that's always a breath of fresh air. And so, I like that they sort of planned, those to be, rather than dropping them in the middle of like a tuned standard format, kind of giving us that first week of, we don't know what we're going to see. We don't know what people are going to bring. And I think that's really entertaining.
Yeah, I think that Star City Games has, this announcement, I understand that I brought up a bunch of stuff that I was confused about, but that's what I'm supposed to do on this show. Right? That's what you're supposed to do. But this announcement was great. Like, all the stuff that they announced was at least palatable. And again, with the scheduling, it's just not feasible to please all the people all the time. Like,
No.
It's very difficult to put anything in the Northeast, in the tri-state area. I think that the New Jersey Expo Center closed this year, which is where they used to hold their events when they were up there. Which there have been a couple invitationals at that location in the past. So it's very difficult trying to fit the puzzle together. So I get all that. But beyond that, boy, this is just a lot of modern. Like, that's just what I'm taking away from this. Which, that's what the fact is. Whether you like it, like Aaron, or not, like more like me, then there's just a lot of modern. If you're a big fan of modern, then the SCG tour is where you want to be. I think that's the end of our discussion. You're allowed to wake back up.
All right, so we're going to move on to Gather the Townsfolk. And in this week in Gather the Townsfolk, here is where I return to the soapbox.
Did you ever leave the soapbox?
I never leave the friggin' soapbox.
No,
it's
he naps inside of it while we were talking about it.
And then I crawl out and I flip it over, I hop right up. It's fantastic.
If it fits, you sits.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I came upon a Tumblr post from Ask a Magic Judge. And I'll bring it up on the screen here about a weird card interaction alert with Kalidas and Anointed Procession.
Yeah, I saw this.
This is crazy. So check it out. Now, for those who don't know, Kalidas is a Oath of the Gatewatch mythic rare. It's 2 black, 2 generic mana for a 3/4 legendary vampire warrior. It has lifelink, and if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile it, and you get a 2/2 zombie creature. You get a token. That's great.
Beautiful.
And it has another activated ability, but that doesn't matter for this conversation. Now, Anointed Procession says it's a white and 3 generic mana for a rare enchantment from Amonkhet that says if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens. Okay, so let's say...
Sweet, so I get 2 zombies now.
You always get 2 zombies, right? You always get 2 zombies because it says it right there. If they die, you get 1. Anointed says you get another one. Hold on a second. Because the magic rules showed up and we're like, you think that's intuitive? This is ridiculous. It turns out that only spells and abilities that kill creatures will give you 2 tokens because of, instead of placing a token, it creates a token. And because words matter a whole bunch, that's weird and it doesn't make any sense. So that includes combat damage. If you kill something with combat damage or through a removal spell like Electrify, you only get 1 token. But if you kill them through some other manner, like a Fatal Push or a Trial of Ambition, you get 2 tokens.
So if the card puts it... hold on. So the way that the rule works is that when the creature would die to damage, it's dying to a rules effect, not to your effect. It's dying to the rules causing it to die.
It's not dying to a spell or ability resolving.
It's dying to lethal damage, which is a rule, as opposed to Fatal Push, which says the word destroy on it.
Right.
That's stupid.
That's dumb, and it's just it makes no sense, and I don't understand it. And here's the rule. Here's where we are, I think, as a rule of bad magic interactions. All right, if you are embarrassed to explain it to your opponent when they get screwed by it, that's a bad rule. It's just the embarrassing test, and it's weird. It took Wizards so long to figure out that, hey, damage on the stack was really embarrassing to explain to people who didn't get it because it doesn't make any sense. But we're here now, and that's great. So everything has to pass that bar.
So the problem here is the word effect, right? If an effect would create.
Right.
On Anointed Procession. Why didn't they just take the wording from Primal Vigor?
Parallel Lives is really what we're sort of talking about, because Parallel Lives is essentially what this is supposed to be, kind of color shifted
trying
into.
To do,
yeah, and that's great. But so the difference here is that Parallel Lives says if an effect would put one or more, and instead you have Anointed Procession that says if an effect would create 1 or more, and that's weird, and it's just kind of the language thing that they've created in terms of this setup, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's great that Aaron Forsyth did respond to me today when I was like, hey, this is dumb, and this needs to change because it's embarrassing to explain. He said it's on their radar, and I am super happy about that. Now, no doubt, Mr. Forsyth, fights the good fight.
Well, what would they do about that though? Like, would it be like an errata or like what?
I honestly, because it's so stupid, and because I can imagine they don't want to change the entire rule set, I would suggest an errata. I know it's weird. I know it's a corner case, but it's corner case because it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so if your errata is to what is intuitive, which is if you would put instead of if you would create. And that's all you got to do, because apparently if you try to make it work different, then all sorts of crazy crap starts happening, and that's fine. So just errata it as a color-shifted parallel lives. That's what I would argue.
The more recent wording is from Primal Vigor, which is from Commander 2013, which says, if one or more tokens would be put onto the battlefield, twice that many of those tokens are put onto the battlefield instead.
Sure.
So, I mean, they have recent wording. My question is, why didn't they just put that on the card?
I don't know.
They had that in the file.
And I don't get
that's
it.
Super weird.
And we have, I mean, here, for example, we had a judge tweet at me and it was like, as a judge, I do not look forward to getting this call. And you know what? I wouldn't either. I would feel terrible. Because you're going to ruin some poor kid's day who has no idea what is happening and doesn't understand why these two cards don't clearly work with each other.
Well, I mean, what are the odds that these two cards are going to see in a deck together? I mean,
well, now
F&M says what's up, first of all.
I mean, F&M, yeah, but I mean,
right,
but think about
F&M is where you need to have this.
Right, but that's where the biggest feel bads are going to come from, because F&M, you're not going to know these weird, stupid interactions that don't make any sense. And for what it's worth, I can imagine there's all sorts of games that are played where two tokens are made even though they're not supposed to be, and nobody cares why, because that's what you're expecting to happen.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is when you are embarrassed to explain what happens, then it's wrong. And I think that's my
basically
litmus.
sums up every deck I play.
It's just the word effect is the problem on Anointed Procession. So hopefully they can errata Anointed Procession to not have that word on it and just have it however they want to do it. You know, if they want to use the word create, if that's the new thing that Magic wants to do, I think that creating tokens is something that they changed in the last year or two.
Right.
Then sure, leave the word create on there. It's just the word effect is the problem here, because the definition of what an effect means and the rules minutia of Electrify giving you only one token, but Fatal Push giving you two tokens is absurd. So I'm hopeful that this will be fixed, if not on the card Anointed Procession, then in the future on cards like Anointed Procession.
I don't think it's going to end any worlds or freak anyone out for this to work the way people expect it to work. That's part of what I would explain. And the other is that, like, I think we're here to try to say, for those people who are like, what is happening? We should point this out and ideally point out a fix, because wow, this is silly. And since this is a hilarious rules interaction, I wanted to bring up my favorite rules interaction that I've ever come across. Okay.
Which happened in a game of Pauper. Magic Online let me discard a token. And it worked within the rules of the game. What? So I had cast a Simian Spirit Guide.
Okay.
And I forget exactly how it worked. I had cast a Simian Spirit Guide, and there was a token of Simian Spirit. I forget exactly how it worked. But the card Withdraw, it might have been an EDH, now that I'm thinking about it. But the card Withdraw from Prophecy is return target creature to its owner's hand, and unless they pay one, return another target creature to its owner's hand. So in the middle of the spell resolving, the token was in my hand, and I was able to use the token to pay for the mana cost.
Wow.
I went into a really crummy interaction the other day. I was playing Legacy Dredge, obviously, and Trinisphere.
Yeah.
So I was attempting to flashback Dread Return. For those playing along at home, Dread Return costs 2 and 2 black. The flashback is 3, sacrifice 3 creatures. So I'm thinking because Dread Return costs 4, I'm cool.
Right.
I sacrifice the 3 creatures, and they're like, no, girl, pay 3. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm thinking it was like Chalice of the Void, because if you Chalice for 1, and I try to flashback a Faithless Looting, it will say it costs 1, and I can't do it, even though flashback is 2 in a red.
Sure.
And I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't let me cast Dread Return. I was like, but it says 2 and 2 black. And they were like, because your flashback cost is no mana, it makes it cost 3. Like, if the flashback had been like 2 and 2 black, you could get away with it. And I was so perplexed by this. And I was like, Trinisphere, man, it's a card.
And those are the types of interactions that, because the format is as old as it is, it's as powerful as it is, you really, you basically need to be a veteran of some amount to understand what's going on in those formats. Oh, yeah. I take that as, you know what, you need to learn these kind of nuances. But when you see something like a dude makes tokens and a thing doubles tokens and they don't double tokens.
And in standard.
Yeah.
That's the other problem, is that it's just not intuitive in the game's or second most popular, if you like modern better, format. It's definitely a way to turn people off of the game. And you're right, F&M is exactly where this is going to happen. This isn't a top tier strategy. Right. This isn't going to, unless somebody broke it at the Pro Tour, which we'll talk about.
It would be hilarious if they did, by the way.
It would be.
That would be
great.
Insane if this actually mattered this coming weekend. For whatever reason, all of a sudden this interaction is huge and determines a match or whatever. I'm just saying.
And to be fair, Kalidas was also supposed to rotate by now, to be fair. But in any case, it is just like super unintuitive, and it's not surprising that they didn't catch it before the set was released. Like, this is a weird one, right?
I wouldn't expect them to.
When they have their slideshow of looking at every card and making sure that everything makes sense and being like, yep, that's okay, yep, that's okay. Maybe we shouldn't have that word, maybe we shouldn't have this art with this name, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
When they do whatever that is, this is not what I would expect them to catch.
All right.
So it is what it is.
So let's take a look. Let's move forward here. Now there's more Magic Online changes, and this is a pretty sweet one. Aaron, you want to tell us a little bit about these challenges that are now going to happen every weekend?
I'm so hype about this. Okay, so Lay Sharp had alluded to a change coming that was going to affect fans of non-rotating formats. And so, Alex Ullman was hyped because he lives for Pauper, and I, of course, love me some Legacy and Modern and Vintage and things like that. And so the post came out today and basically announced the challenges, which typically are once-a-month events for Vintage and Legacy right now. Big deal. I try to play in them as much as I can. They are now going to be every weekend. Because a lot of times people couldn't make that one specific day and you felt like you were missing out, and apparently the attendance was good enough and there was enough hype for them, where now you can do this every weekend across 2 days. So they're going to have 3 challenges on Saturday. You can choose between Modern, Vintage, or 1v1 Commander. Really good price support, really sweet price support. And then on Sunday, you can do Legacy or Pauper. And so for someone like me, I could do Vintage on Saturday and Legacy on Sunday. I don't have a Vintage scene where I live. I just don't. And also the odds of me being able to borrow Bazaars from somebody to go to something new like Eternal Weekend are very slim. So this is huge for me. I can literally play in a serious Vintage competition every weekend. That's massive. My city doesn't really have much of a Legacy scene either. So for someone like me to be able to play more Legacy every weekend is fantastic. And, this also gives people more data. If you're somebody who, doesn't think Top should have been banned, if you're one of the tinfoil folks who thinks that Brainstorm needs to be banned in Legacy, it's events like this that will give them more data to work with when it comes to ban and restricting announcements. It will also inject some new blood in these formats, more deck lists to see more innovation, hopefully. And so I'm really excited about this. And it seems like all the feedback I saw was pretty positive, and I look forward to streaming as much of these as I can, playing in them, and this is awesome.
That's fantastic. So that is 100% positive, good things. I think.
Yeah, love it.
High five. Well done, Magic Online team. You saw an opportunity, you took it, you give people options. That's fantastic. Not making them choose between Vintage and Legacy is also really super sweet.
Recognizing the overlap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think was huge and great. Okay. Time to go. What are we doing here again?
We giveth and we taketh away.
That's what we do here. You know what? I like to say, look, man, you're going to get it right, I'm going to high five, and you're going to get it wrong, I'm going to go, what are you doing? So here we are with a throwback standard format. Now, this was announced here. Randy Bueller actually wrote the article. There's going to be a throwback standard gauntlet of Combo Winter, this being Urza block. And this is what I would describe as a terrific idea that does not work in the real world. And let's take a look at why. So, in these decks, this basically, the idea that sounds great is that you get to play with broken decks. You get to play with broken decks against each other. That's fantastic. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Broken decks everywhere. Holy crap. It's fantastic. No, because here's your problem. even when you get the most broken decks in Magic, you're gonna have something that's the best. Something is going to be better than all of this brokenness. Now, it kind of works out in Cube because everyone has ridiculous decks, but arguably cubes are built with sort of a flat power level. Well, when you have decks and you have formats and you have cards that were banned in the middle of all these things, then you have some odd choices, is the way that I would put it. You have Wildfire, for example. So you're trying to, like, you know, destroy lands and stuff, and, you know, use all your super cool mana so you can get your Wildfire off and you can play your Covetous Dragon, and that's cool. And then you have Replenish. Okay, so you don't run any creatures. And then you have, as we keep going, of course, there's Academy, which we'll get to, and there's Tinker, and then you have Stompy. You have Wild Dogs. I'm going to play Academy Rector. I'm going to play Jar. Yeah. I'm going to play Tolarian Academy. You're going to play Wild Dogs on turn 1, and I'm going to kill you on my second turn because that's what the deck does.
I'm not hearing a problem here.
Clearly. I mean, there have been some gauntlets where, like, you know, if you roll poorly and you get sort of like the bad deck, you're kind of screwed. But there's a huge difference in power level of all of these things. And, you know, there were some really interesting threads that kind of popped up, you know, from people who've played these formats. Kai Buddha, you know, was like, this looks horrendous. The power level ranges from block constructed to standard to legacy.
And one of them was the deck that he popularized, the Wildfire. Kai Buddha was just some guy, this is their quoting, I'm not saying this, I love Kai. Kai Buddha was just some guy who had a string of good Grand Prix when he showed up for Worlds in Tokyo in 1999. By the end of the weekend, he had his first Pro Tour win and his first Player of the Year trophy thanks to Wildfire.
Absolutely.
Right. And it was great for the format.
It really was. It was super cool.
Not this format.
I don't know. I think the majority of people have never done this before. I'm still not clear as to what Memory Jar even does. I've been on the receiving end of it before, and things just happen.
You're going to learn today what's going to happen.
Sure. Think, you know, for people like me who didn't get to experience these cards, I've never cast a Covetous Dragon. I've never cast a Curse Scroll. I've never been, you know, I've never seen a Tolarian Academy go off. You know, I think this is fun almost. You know, I respect the opinion of people who were around for this and who, you know, who feel that it's terrible and maybe they experienced it and they have some bad experiences. I think that's valid. I think that on the other hand, though, you know, I think that the average person is going to pick this up, and who's to say that they're even going to know what to do? Who's going to know how to combo out with this? You know, the fact that it's a random gauntlet, you know, can you get multiples in a gauntlet? Or
I think everyone just gets one of these 8 lists, as I recall. But the problem is, you know, that's cool. You've never played in those cards, but I'm going to kill you before you have the chance to do that because I got lucky and got the Academy deck.
You're going to land your 6/5 flying red dragon and be like, sweet, this combos with my Wildfire because my dragon has 5 toughness and my Wildfire only deals 4. Oh, wait. I'm dead to literally every other deck in this gauntlet.
I don't know. I think it's not that bad.
It's pretty bad.
I think that there's a swing here, and there's a big swing, and I think it's the way that I'm kind of putting it is sort of Andrew Shrout responded to part of this thread and was basically said, it feels like most design decisions were made for the benefit of people who wanted to think about the standard gauntlet but not play it. Because I think this sounds really cool, and I think the idea is great. I think the idea is great. I think the execution, you're dealing with brokenness. Something has to be the best. It's Magic the Gathering, and here we are. So
yeah, when you open up your Stompy hand and your opponent goes Mana Vault, go.
Assuming they know what to do with the Mana Vault, assuming that you know,
let's assume that they know that it taps for 3 mana.
I mean,
or that they've Googled an article on Jar, like, oh, I have Jar now. What does this deck do? Oh, it wins on turn 1. Let's figure out how to do that and make sure that every one of my opponents never gets to play a land.
And I'm sure it will be absolutely hilarious seeing people try to make this happen and they don't know what they're doing. I'm sure it will be hilarious. I'm just saying, I wanted this to be really sweet, and I just think that in the
Urza's
real world,
Urza's Block's not a great choice for this one.
It's a buzzing format. It really is.
Well, I will play Gauntlet, so it's fine. Well, I'll have fun. I'll stream it.
I'll do the best I can to have fun with it. I don't know if I want to play it, but because if I just get stuck with the Stompy deck, man, it's
yeah.
It's
look at the black
rough.
deck though. The deck with the Phyrexian negators. Like how could Napster? It's called Napster.
Sure.
Yeah.
Look at it. Yawgmoth's Will, Dust Bowl, Thrashing Wumpus, Ruben.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna play Dark Ritual Phyrexian Negator on turn 1. Look, if you don't think I've actually played in a tournament,
let's go back. Let's go back.
Negator.
Did you just say Negator?
Negator, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna play.
Oh,
and
he's busting
then I'm dead.
You're being negatored. You're breaking up.
Yeah, man. Your internet has turned potato, straight tater, straight tator, if you will. So, all right. So that's happening. Look, I hope it works out great. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like it's weird, and we deserve to tell people this is a little strange. So speaking of things that are strange. We're going to keep moving here into Desperate Ravings. Now, there's a man who won a pro tour, and Ben Stark is a hell of a Magic player. Super cool guy, brilliant dude, super smart. However, even the best of us say things that make you go, what? And I'll get right back to that. So he mentioned at one point here. That, and I'll just bring up the tweet so we can read it here, wherever it happens to be. Of course, I didn't put it up because I'm good at what I'm doing. All right, so anyway, so at one point, Ben Stark tweeted, multiple people said to me that Glorybringer and Angel of Sanctions are really hurting Amonkhet. Why can't cards be banned from Limited? At which point, my brain exploded. And then I had to pick it up and squish it all back in there because none of that made any sense to me. First of all, anecdotes aren't data. Let's just get that one out there, okay? Anecdotes are not data. There could very well be people talking to him saying that it's ruining the limited format. I don't think it's ruining limited format. Why can't they just ban bombs? Bombs are there for a reason. There are formats that are busted with certain cards. I mean busted. If you've ever played Rise of the Eldrazi Limited, you cannot beat Drana. There's like 2 cards that kill her. Like Flame Slash only hits like non-flyers, for example. There's a whole mess of cards that do nothing, and it just takes over the board and just wins immediately, and it's dumb. Like Glorybringer is a very good Magic card. Angel of Sanctions, very good Magic card. Okay, I've seen people lose with Jace the Mind Sculptors on the table in Limited. I've seen them lose with Jit. I have opened Jits and lost. Of course I am, because I'm a terrible Magic player or whatever. But but still, I have seen people open stupid, crazy pools and do stupidly terrible with them. That doesn't mean that you ever want to ban. So can you imagine? Like, at which point, and what I'd say on Twitter was like, look, man, if they ever said this card cannot be played in Limited, replace it with X card or Y card or whatever it is, I just feel at that point that whoever is the lead developer of that set, just they have to. That's their resignation paper right there. They're like, we have failed. The number one thing they work on, they consistently say, is a limited format. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's a limited format. Sometimes it's crazy fast like Zendikar. Sometimes it's crazy slow like Rise. Sometimes you have busted rares in the middle of all that. But that's okay because, that's sort of that's part of the format that they're crafting. And if you craft a format that is so screwed up that one card that they may open in one of the packs that they're opening for the draft is going to warp it to an extent that it busts the format, how terrible is that? That's just so busted and it's ridiculous. And first of all, I don't ever see this happening. And second of all, just the idea seems crazy. Just me? Anybody?
It's just such a bad idea that I don't even know what to say. Like, why would you ban cards from... it makes no sense. Like, every set has its cards that are really, really, really good, and people say they're unbeatable and whatever. But especially for this format to have this discussion come up is really strange because Glorybringer and Angel of Sanctions, quite good Magic cards, they aren't the end-all, be-all, unbeatable menaces that, like, Jace Memory Adept was.
Right.
Like, they're beatable cards.
Right.
They're quite good. I don't think that they're ruining, and I don't know, this is this classic a lot of people are saying argument that I don't like it when anybody uses. But it's like a lot of people are saying that this is ruining their draft experience. And it's like, I don't know who these lots of people are, but, get me some specific examples before you try to use it as an argument. And it's not. It's like, it's I don't recall if Ben decided to start tweeting about this like when Pack Rat was around or whenever any of the real problems in Limited were around.
Sure.
But it's, it's like those cards were so much better than Glorybringer and Angel of Sanctions that it's kind of weird to have them be like, now's the time that this is the hill I'm going to die on. Sure. Right now during Amonkhet when we have these like 5-mana rares. Like I get the one that I get is that he wished that Glorybringer was a mythic, sure. I guess.
Which I understand.
Which I get, but you got to look at it from a sales perspective too of like people want to buy packs of Magic because they want to open sweet angels and dragons, and Glorybringer is a sweet dragon that 3 times as many people are going to open.
Right.
And I don't know if this math works out, but 3 times as many people will start playing Magic as a result of opening a sweet dragon. Right? Does that make sense?
Or just be really happy to open it. And Angel of Sanctions is already a mythic. So I mean,
this is just like not a problem.
It was just weird because, again, like I've hung out with, I've talked to, I know Ben Stark is one hell of a Magic player, and I'm just like, I don't know why we even talking about this. Why is this a thing? This is weird. And to note for those people who are just like, well, the people in charge of Jitte and Skullclamp, they need to be fired. I'm like, no, that was based on the format and or last minute changes, which is different, and they still had no problem being in the limited formats. But the limited format ban is nuts. That's crazy. That's horrible. So let's keep on with the Raven, as we do. On Reddit this past week, there was a pretty long kind of sort of post there that talked about somebody logged onto their Magic Online account for the first time in several days, and their entire collection was missing. As you can imagine, they're a little freaked out about it, okay?
Yeah.
So they got a private message from Card Hoarder. Card Hoarder had purchased all the cards from the account over the weekend, and they essentially at that point they contacted the fraud department at Wizards, and within a minute of getting to a representative, they were told that the security of your account is your responsibility. The security of your account is your responsibility. They could clearly perhaps see that the trades happened from an IP address that was not theirs, that things were being logged in and taken immediately. And basically, it answers the question of, if my Magic Online account gets hacked, what happens? It's weird and bad to say, sucks to be you, is your default answer. Here's why. Here's the number one. Okay, Wizards, this is what you gotta fix. This is so dumb, I can't handle it. This is real stupid. Here's the dumb part, okay? You can brute force password Magic Online. You can put in an incorrect password as much as you want. You don't have to fill out captchas. You don't have to get timeouts. You don't even have two-factor authentication. And you know what, Wizards? It's okay that you don't have two-factor authentication. I know it takes work. I know it takes time. I know you're trying to do other things in the world. Okay, whatever. But do not let people brute force attack a password. That is so dumb. It's hurting me. It's hurting me inside. You know why? Because I did 10 years of IT, and I'm telling you that it's so stupid I can't handle it.
Exactly. That's the part that really gets me riled up. Is that there are so many people in Magic who know about passwords, who are aware of internet security. Aaron told me a story before this just started about how that Rich Shea, notable vintage all-star Rich Shea, ended a note saying, "Oh, by the way, this is what my thesis was about." It's like, how is this in 2017 and you have an online program? How is the security of that program like not number one and number two priority of that program?
I mean, he kind of puts it, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just you first because I have a couple things to talk about.
No, that's
relating to this.
Right, and I was just going to sort of paraphrase a little bit of what Rich Shea essentially said. It's disappointing that, Wizard said that your account security is your own responsibility. Yes, you have a strong password, but having a strong password will only get you so far, particularly when you can brute force it.
Yeah.
Wizards. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
But you were dead.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sorry.
I'll go back.
Okay. So I kind of want to give a shout out to Card Hoarder because I have a relationship with them, and they're nice enough to loan me cards that I can stream. And it sounds like Card Hoarder were sort of the good guys in this situation, working with the customer, working with the person. They even commented throughout the thread and offered some suggestions and things like that. So I want to give Card Hoarder a huge shout out, and I'm happy to be working with you. So well done, guys. This was actually really scary for me. The person who wrote this post brought up a really good point in that, with the publishing of deck lists, if you go on MTG Goldfish, if you 5-0 a league or possibly even 4-1, or you do well in a MOX, your name, your username gets put out there.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be playing a really expensive deck, you are basically broadcasting, hey, this is my name, and I have this collection worth of cards, and you, in a sense, make yourself a target, not willingly, and maybe that's the wrong wording for it, but it does put you out there in a very vulnerable way. And that was something that I had never thought of before. And it is scary to think about that somebody might just go through these deck lists and be like, here's somebody with a $2,000, deck. I'm just going to go in and wipe their account out. It's very scary that it puts the spotlight on you like that. And Rich Shea brought up a really good point too. He came in this thread and was super nice, and this is how it should be. And he says, thank you for taking the time to write this. This could not have been easy for you to experience. Right. And then he brings up that even banks will work with you. Credit cards will work with you if you get your credit card stolen. Yep. I work for a bank myself. There are so many things that we can do for you. I find it amazing that for all the flack that banks get for being sort of cold or heartless or, not thinking about the people, that we're willing to do more for you than Magic Online is. Like, that's astounding to me. But I do think that there are, I like the fact that Rich says that while we're asking them for additional security, here are some things. If they are going to bring it back to us, here's what we can do to make our passwords the best, as strong as they can be. And this is just mind-boggling to me. Like, that this is, and I don't recall seeing any sort of official Wizards response on this at all. Like, they stayed like 50 feet away from this, as far as I can see, which is, again, like, what?
Which is ridiculous.
Evan, you mentioned that they were like, where was this statement of like, it's on you?
Right.
They said that was within stuff? They said that within so according to his statement, he says, I contacted the fraud department, and within a minute of getting to a representative, I was told the security of your account is your responsibility. Paraphrasing the rest of the conversation.
It's not, because you have property that has monetary value housed on their program.
Doesn't matter. The Magic Online user agreement can destroy your collection and don't give a crap.
If you called your bank and said your debit card got stolen, the bank will never ask you, what did you do? The bank will never say, where did you leave it? What were you doing? It's all right. It's been stolen. Let's deal with that. Like,
well, if I got told that by the Magic Online fraud department, the first thing I would do is go to Reddit, and I would post an angry thread, and then I'd encourage everyone to never play Magic the Gathering online digital objects ever again, because those digital objects are not secure.
I mean, even World of Warcraft, we had authenticators. I still have my authenticator, and I don't even play World of Warcraft anymore. Like, there are just so many options for better security that it's mind-boggling that, Evan, you rattled off a couple of them. A CAPTCHA to prove you're not a robot. The capital letters, put a couple words in.
Hearthstone, where the cards are worthless. Like, they literally, you can't sell them, has two-factor identification.
Now, look,
it's ludicrous.
If part of this Magic Digital X crap includes two-factor authentication, fantastic. But for God's sake, do not let people brute force these passwords. That is like 1997 problems. I'm not kidding.
Welcome to Magic Online.
Just give them timeouts, for God's sake. Just timeout. You get 5 wrong password chances or whatever, you get 30 minutes. You can do it again another 5 times, you get 3 hours. I don't care. But don't let me try 1 million passwords until I get the right one. That's so stupid. I can't handle it. And when this default crap of like, oh, by the way, sucks to be you, dear bank, my card is stolen, and they go, well, the security of your card's on you, sir.
Yeah, no.
You could have known where that card was, and you could have stopped it from being taken.
No way.
There's no way to see your trade history, first of all. Second of all, I can't, and I've heard different things. I've actually heard different things. To be fair, to give them some credit, I have heard that they don't always necessarily respond this way. Unfortunately, in this instance, they clearly did. So if those policies have changed, you need to fix that crap. You know, one way to make someone hate your game is to let them pour hundreds or thousands of dollars into a program. Something bad happens, and you tell them it's on them. When your technology is literally archaic at this point, and I'm being generous, all right? And you let things like this happen, it cannot be. It just cannot be. This is so bad. Please, I can't. If anything, the number one easiest way to do this is to stop the brute force, okay? I get two-factor is tough, but stop the brute force. I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm just super pissed about it. I'm upset that people will be treated this way. I'm upset that Magic when you call a fraud department, do you need shame? Is that what you need? Is that what you're looking for?
No.
What the hell?
In fact, I used to be a phone banker, and I remember having to take those calls, especially if I worked on a Sunday. You get people that, you get a little clumsy when you're out with your girlfriends and you don't remember where you put your wallet down or you put your purse down. And, not only would we go so far as to start the process of trying to help you, we would even offer you solutions as to how to prevent it from happening again. Again, not saying that they were, responsible, but we'd offer you more options where it's okay, we see that you have this. Let's offer you more security options to really make sure that if this does happen again, you are even better armed than you are today. And I can't believe, from a customer service standpoint, I think that we all agree with this because we all work in customer service to different degrees, and it's just mind-boggling to me that the service aspect is just not there. I would never say that to a customer, you did it. What?
Yeah. And I don't blame the people who are first of all, this makes me scared to play Magic Online. This makes me not want to play all Magic Online. It makes me not want to get anywhere near the thing. And I just don't blame them. And Wizards, not only being completely silent about this, not saying something like, you know what, we shouldn't have responded that way. We should have been helpful.
They responded to the Commander fallout quicker than they did this.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's be real.
Well, to be fair, they hadn't heard Evan Irwin of Magic Mike's fame give a diatribe yet.
God,
they
I'm
needed
saying
to hear his angry up and down voice before coming to an opinion. Well, if Mr. Orange says it, boy howdy.
Look, if somebody's
get the IT department over here.
Did you see what Evan said? Holy crap! No, man, I'm here to fight the good fight, and I'm telling you, this is one worth fighting. Okay, so I'm going to end this story with a little bit of comedy because Lord knows we need it. So on Magic Online, I have been playing Magic Online since 2004. Well, I've been playing it more often, but here's part of the reason. I've been playing Magic since 2004. Okay, I've played Infinite. There have been so many times where I've bought cards and sold cards and bought decks and sold decks and all this other stuff. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to liquidate my account because I want to play Amonkhet Limited. It is so good. And Wizards, see, I give Wizards the love. They made a great format. I'm excited to play it. So, you need some funds, right? Magic Online, not a cheap program. Okay, fine. I liquidated my account. Who did I go to? Card Hoarder, as it turns out, has a nice online tool where you're able to go and upload your entire collection, and they'll give you a quote on it, and then you can make that thing happen.
I forgot about that.
And so the way Magic Online works is that you can only trade 400 cards at a time, okay? And the way that Card Hoarder sort of works is Card Hoarder, I'm guessing for liability and or legal reasons, and partly maybe due to this fraud stuff, they will not log into your account and do it for you, which apparently maybe they used to do or something. But either way, they can't do it for you. So you have to be entrenched in this. Okay, so before I tell you the total number that was in my account, let's just say I had 43 Umara Raptors from Zendikar, okay? That's just an idea.
Google that, friends.
Umara Raptor, go ahead and check that out. Amazing comment. So the amount of cards in my account that I sold to them was 37,000.
Divided by 4.
37,000 cards. 400 at a time. It took over an hour of my life. Yeah. Confirming trade, submitting trade, confirming trade, submitting trade, derp, 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 derp. I mean, just over and over and over. And then the guy had to go help other customers, real fast. And he'd come back and we keep doing it, and then he'd help somebody else and he'd come back and we do it and we do it and we do it. It was insane. So yeah, got some money out of it. Got a couple $100 out of my ridiculously random common and uncommons from the past 13 years of my playing Magic online, but it ate more than an hour of my life to do so. It was just like, this is my life now. Just submit, confirm, submit, confirm, submit, confirm. That's what we did for a long time. It was great. Absurd. So that was a lot, no joke. So all right, so let's keep going. And let's talk a little bit about. Actually, we need to back up here to Desperate Ravings because we have a Pro Tour Amonkhet draft. It's time to draft. Yes. It's time to pick the horses, ladies and gentlemen. And
so the last time we did this, we had 1 team and 3 players. Do we want to stick to that, or do you want to do more?
I like that.
It
ain't broke.
I think it's good.
All right. Who won last time?
I was in last, I think. I think
that'd be me.
You won, didn't you?
That's fine. I won.
This guy.
So I'll go last.
Okay. Well,
I think Evan was second. So
right. So Aaron, you can go ahead and get the first pick.
Okay. So do you want me to pick my team or pick my? I'll pick my team.
Let's start with team.
Yeah. So you can either pick a team or a player. It's up to you.
I love this team just because I think their name is so clever and everything about them just fits in with their name. I choose Conflagrease.
Wow.
I love me some Conflagrate, and I love everything about this team. Panagiotis, Papadopoulos.
Papadopoulos is just...
Rocking this metropolis.
Patriciotis, Makis Matsoukas, and Nicholas Caponis. I'm rooting for all of y'all, so I'm choosing Conflagrease.
Conflagrease,
my big bag Pro Tour, yeah.
Wow.
And because he's unlikely to get chosen, I'm going to guess. Makis Matsoukas is 2nd place in Rookie of the Year this year.
Wow.
So far. So,
nice.
Yeah, with a good finish at the last Pro Tour. So if he can string together another one, he can pass Ben Hull and maybe get himself in the catbird seat to be Rookie of the Year.
Sure.
All right.
So I will choose what I would describe as the obvious, and I'm taking Team Puzzle Quest. Because I'll take the Duke, the Turtenwald, the Jensen, the Finkel, the Cuneo, and the Rietzel. I am totally okay with those people being on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Rubes, what you got, buddy?
I guess I'll round out the first round with team choice. Look, Team Musashi is just great, and I want every single one of them to be on my team when I choose all of the players as well. But in the interest of choosing other people from places that aren't necessarily Japan, I will choose Team Musashi. I think that Kentaro Yamamoto is the somehow still best Magic player you've never heard of, even though I have no idea why you've never heard of him. Right? He's still like kind of under the radar. People still think of like Saito and Yuya, his teammate Shota, before they think of Kentaro as like the guy from Japan. But man, is Yamamoto just a monster. I mean, he's the guy that figured out Mono Black Devotion for Pro Tour Theros. He's just this, master of figuring out stuff before everyone else knows how to do it. Also, Team Musashi currently in 2nd place behind MTG Midcard in the overall team rankings, but I still think that they're going to do quite well in Nashville.
All right, so Team Musashi it is. Aaron, what is your first pick for the individual Pro Tour?
So I was going through, all of the names, and I found a story that really made me kind of sad, but it also gave me somebody to root for. Give me a second to find their name. Okay, so Team Dex Third. The young man that I'm going to choose is Lucas Esper Bertud.
Yeah.
I believe he won something recently, but here's why I chose him. So they list the roster. They list the 6 young men that are on this team, including Lucas, and then they start off by saying some good news. They're like, this guy won the Pro Tour, rah, rah, rah. And then like the bad news, Felipe, Patrick, Christian, Jose, and Joe Lucas don't even qualify for the Pro Tour. So Lucas Esper is the only young man on this team who's going to be at the Pro Tour. And I love being an underdog. He won the last Pro Tour, I believe. Yep. I pick Lucas Esper because that's just the poor guy, his whole team.
Holy cow.
He's the only one on this team that qualifies.
Well, you know what, Ruben? I think you convinced me a little bit on this one because I too have seen the power of Kentaro Yamamoto.
There you go.
And I feel like he's a pretty good choice. So
Great choice.
I want to pick me some Kentaro Yamamoto because I'm telling you that guy is incredibly good at Magic cards.
Well, if Evan's going to hedge, then I'm going to hedge.
Here we go.
I'm going to pick the best player that's ever played the game.
We Finkelin?
That might be a little bit of an overstatement, but But I think I'm going to take John Finkel.
Okay.
It's close with Kai. But I have to hedge, and also Kai isn't on a team, and so he's not putting as many hours into it as far as I'm aware.
Sure.
And I don't think he was at the last Pro Tour either.
Right.
But I don't think anyone's going to fight me when I say that John Finkel's the best that's ever played the game. Is anyone going to fight me on that?
I mean, his Hall of Fame, he got into the Hall of Fame, and then he got another Hall of Fame resume.
He got another Hall of Fame
getting into the Hall of Fame. That's how
I'm
good
he
is.
I'm going to pick Johnny Magic of the Card Shark Kids fame as my first pick.
That's right. Fantastic. So up next here, let's see, what is the second pick? Yes, Aaron.
Second pick.
Who you got?
People, yeah.
All right. I love me a silver fox. And so this young man is in the Hall of Fame, I believe. Old school fish. We're gonna go with Jelger Vigersma.
Nice, Jelger.
Jelger.
Jelger is a fine man. And he is also incredibly good at magical cards.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
He's super good. So we have lots of amazing choices here, and somebody who is, I think even over the years he keeps working on that limited game, but man, he's got, if anybody has Standard on lockdown, it's my boy who I filmed all the set reviews with, Mr. Brad Nelson. I'm taking him second.
People still ask that. To this day, we get tweets of, can you do it? Can you do it? If Brad can't do it, can we do it? They love those set reviews.
They do.
Oh, man.
We got to figure out a way.
You.
But maybe that'll be something we'll do in the future. Either way, Ruben, what you got, buddy?
Anybody can play Standard.
Anybody
can play. It takes a real. You have to have a good limited portion to win a Pro Tour. So I'm going to pick the man who's in charge of Draft Master right now, and that's going to be Martin Juza.
Wow.
He's 11-1 right now in limited, which isn't a sustainable pace, but he's got so many limited Grand Prix top 8s. He's actually underperformed on the Pro Tour circuit in his career. He's one of those guys that's like, yeah, he's got 20 GP top 8s, but how many Pro Tour top 8s does he have? I think he's got like 3, right?
Sure.
Or maybe 2. Don't know off the top of my head, but I think that if ever there were a limited format that could be figured out, it's one that has lots of options. It's one that no one can point to a specific color and say that's weak. It's a format that has lots of different sub archetypes and pet cards and things like that. And it's an archetype where you aren't at the mercy of all of the bombs that your opponents play. As we mentioned, Glorybringer and the Angel are quite good, but they aren't the end-all be-all. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Martin Juza as my second.
Fair enough.
By the way, gentleman's agreement. This is just a gentleman's agreement to not pick Reed until round 3. Is that what's happening?
Aaron, who's your last and final pick? Is this where I can just go ahead and type it in and just save me some time here?
I was going to, to be fair, I did put in a noble effort. Like, I looked at all of these teams, and I was like, all right, I'm going to spread my wings a little bit. We're going to show some range. There's some really nightly. Shetian's pretty nifty, and Yuya's nice, and Hane's okay, and, Christian Cespedes, that's a fun name. And I was like, I know who butters my bread. We're going to choose Bay.
Oh.
Baywatch.
Hashtag Baywatch.
Bring it home.
So this is one of those where I think I'm agreeing with the chat that it's a little crazy that this person's gotten this far, but I am picking Mr. Paulo Vitor Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
And I'll say I didn't. I'll say I didn't pick PV because I had him on my last team, but that's probably not the case. Boy, there's just so many people who are still left that are worth putting on a team.
Very, very good. Very, very good players left.
It's just so tough, and I don't want to double up. I don't want to take anybody from Musashi as a one person,
okay? Because
I think that puts too many of my eggs in one basket. That's just my opinion.
Fair enough.
So what I am gonna do, I'm gonna go a little weird here. I think not crazy, but a little weird. Boy, it's just tough to pass up all these other people here, but I'm okay. Whatever. I'm still gonna do it. I'm gonna pick John Stern.
Wow.
Good choice.
From Mass Drop East. I think that the godfather of Canadian Magic, and I had a Canadian on my last team. I had Sean McCleary last time.
Yeah.
And I think that John Stern is just I've had the pleasure playing against John Stern, and I've gotten to watch a lot of John Stern, and he's just such a nice man and such a good brain, like just a solid when he makes a suggestion, when he speaks aloud, his teammates and his compatriots stop to pay attention to what he's saying. He has that effect on people. Because he doesn't come out with like super strong and need to say this opinions all the time, but when he does, it's usually worth taking a minute and listening to it. And so for many reasons beyond that, in addition to the fact that I think that he's just a fabulous Magic player, I'll pick John Stern.
Fair enough. So we have our teams, ladies and gentlemen. For Pro Tour Amonkhet, Aaron has Lucas Esper Berthoud?
I don't know.
I'm too southern for this. Lucas Esper
defending champ, right?
Berthoud. No. All right. Anyway, that fine gentleman. Yelger Wiegersma, or Wiegersma, if you will, and Reed Duke. #Baywatch. And the team is Conflagrease. Conflagrease.
This is fun to say.
It is, isn't it? It's a fun name. I have Kintaro Yamamoto. I have my buddy Brad Nelson. I have Paulo Vitor Dance Doritos. And for my team, I have Puzzle Quest, to pick somewhat of an obvious one with lots of people who are awesome Magic on it, but Puzzle Quest is as Puzzle Quest does. Ruben, you have John Finkel, Martin Juza, John Stern, and the team of Musashi, which is pretty cool.
I'm pleased.
So good luck to you guys, and we will see if Ruben can maintain his winning status.
Get that back-to-back like LEB.
That's right.
What I'm going to call Lucas now.
Wow, the old LEBs. It's not like LEDs.
LEB.
It's LEB.
He's going to defend his trophy.
There you go.
And he'll be under the lights first, right? Isn't that how you do it? You follow the former the previous Pro Tour champ.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because they do that King of the Hill thing that I absolutely despise, and despised it for years. Fantastic.
Well, they're going to do it, so Aaron's going to have a good view of LEB, see if he can back-to-back.
There you go. So we're going to move on here to splash damage. It's so great when we've got all these sweet topics, and we just kind of just fill that hour 15 just perfectly. I just love it. Splash damage this week. We got a few cool threads to talk about. So this is where it's not about Magic per se, but it's certainly related. You know, a couple years ago, the collective community just lost their crap because 20th Century Fox decided to option Magic the Gathering to develop a potential movie series, a movie franchise, if you will. The word franchise was definitely bantered around. And there were lots of franchises happening, and oh my God, what's going to happen, so on and so forth. Well, somebody contacted someone connected to the movie. Titus Chalk, who recently wrote an MTG book.
Very good book.
Absolutely. And it said, hey, can we please, this is to Brian Cogman, he's a screenwriter and a producer and writer on Game of Thrones. So nice pedigree we got going here. He says, can we please get a Magic movie that's more than just the brain exercise? And Brian says, I hope so. I'm not sure what's going on with the movie these days. No longer involved. Oh, crap. And he says, oh, wow, what a shame. Sure, you're busy enough with Westeros, but Magic fans were excited to see you involved. And Brian says, had a great time working on it and loved the people at Wizards_Magic. Truly have no idea what's happening with it, but wish them the best. Also known as development hell. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the hell of development right here. We're in it. We're soaking in it right now. Where this weird movie can just loom in the distance. And we can just talk about how wouldn't this be cool if this person could play Jason, blah, blah, blah. What storyline they would choose. It's dead in the water. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and you actually linked an article. You linked an article from the Hollywood Reporter that was sort of breaking this news 3 years ago. The news broke that this movie was starting. This movie, the article you linked was from January 13, 2014. So this has been stewing for 3 years.
Yeah.
To this, conclusion, if you will, or to this place, if you will. And it's like, are you serious? Like,
this is the reality of movies, though.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it really will take, I think, sort of a Peter Jackson-esque director who has vision, who has the talent, who has the resources, can really invest in this type of stuff. I think the idea of an animated movie, whether it's like a CG type or even a drawn movie, is not that crazy in terms of the crazy stuff that needs to happen, and you don't want it to look too silly if it has live action people in it. But now we're going on almost 3.5 years. Sorry, I only thought it was 2. I'm an old man.
Boy.
Time goes fast. 3.5 years later, we're talking about it. It's sad. It makes me sad. I wish it was. I both wish and don't wish it happens.
Look, there's been movies that have much more clout and much more star power behind them that never made it to the big screen, never made it to screenwriting. I mean, Stanley Kubrick was going to make a movie based on Napoleon. That never happened because it got stuck in development hell. What's another good one? Gladiator 2 never happened.
It's true.
Because of more development hell. A Tim Burton Superman movie never happened.
Superman
and
lives.
Of course, yeah, and you were talking about Peter Jackson bringing Lord of the Rings.
Right.
The previous Lord of the Rings that was going to be brought to the big screen was going to be starring the Beatles.
Why?
No joke.
Wow.
What was it? It was going to be George was going to be Gandalf. John was going to be
like
Frodo.
Sam or Frodo, yeah.
Please tell me Yoko was going to be Galadriel.
No, they didn't. I don't think they went that far. But Ringo was going to be Gollum.
Oh my God.
And Paul was going to be
No way. You're
Sam.
making this up.
No, look it up. Go
This
look
is
up
amazing.
The Beatles, Lord of the Rings. This was like a real thing that they tried to do.
Today you will learn, everybody. Today you will learn.
To say that there isn't going to be a movie based on a fantasy trading card game that isn't Pokemon, it's not that far-fetched,
Okay, John Lennon wanted to play the grasping, thieving creature Gollum. What?
Oh, never mind. I had it backwards. All right.
Oops.
That's it. No way. This is real.
Yeah, this is real. They put together a lot of money. This was when Yellow Submarine and Help had just come out.
Sure.
So they were like also movie stars in addition to being, the greatest musicians of all time. But yeah, this was a real thing.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. I'd never heard of that before.
And now you know how badly you need the Lord of the Rings starring the Beatles in your life.
You need it.
You'll never get it.
Nope.
And it's sad.
Oh.
That makes me sad. But you know what my kids are going to get? And they are, I can only imagine how thrilled they're going to be, but I haven't really shown this to them yet, but I can't wait to do so. Minecraft, if you weren't aware, 2 things are raising our children these days. The first is YouTube, and the second is Minecraft, and the third, arguably, is Minecraft videos on YouTube. Like, literally endless hours of Minecraft videos. Oh my God. Minecraft is bringing Magic online. Magic the Gathering skins are coming to Minecraft. This is super freaking sweet. I've got it up here on the screen. Apparently, you get a few of the skins completely free, so you can try them out. And if you can buy the pack, you get all of them. I mean, here we have Saheeli Rai. There's Tezzeret right here. We keep moving. There's Nicol Bolas is in there. There's Liliana, of course. There's Avacyn. There's Imrakul. You can play as an Imrakul avatar in Minecraft. That's sweet. That's so sweet. They even have Oketra, and Dovin Bond, the saddest planeswalker.
The saddest planeswalker.
Certainly the saddest.
Especially when you're a bald, sphere-headed planeswalker, and then you're in Minecraft, so you get all pixelated.
You're just a block.
What are you trying to say, Evan? I mean,
I'm just saying that Evan in Minecraft would be a little bit more pixelated. That's what I'm saying.
It would be awesome to be a Minecraft avatar. If anybody has the gumption and or the time, I would love to highlight what we could look like as Minecrafters, as Minecraft characters would be pretty insane.
That would be neat.
I have to say at this point that I am at this very specific generational gap where I don't really know what Minecraft is. I understand that it's not that I'm too old, it's that I'm both too old and too young, right? Mm-hmm. Because you know what it is, but I'm not young enough to be in that little area where I understand it. And then you explained it as just digital Legos, and then I was like, oh, that makes sense. I get it. I think it's clearly Minecraft is just a super popular intellectual property right now. For kids, for adults, for anyone who's on the internet, and so for Magic to sort of attach their name to it is an excellent move.
Right.
Yeah, my last boyfriend, he followed, I think her name is like Rosanna Paisano. She makes like nerdy treats on YouTube.
That's a fake name. Hold on.
I could be wrong. It's like, I'm positive she makes like nerdy things or like cupcakes and things like that. And he wanted a Minecraft cake, and I had never heard of Minecraft before. And it was literally just like this square of terrain, and it was like coconut with green, and he was just so stoked, and I had no idea what was going on. Was I close?
Yeah, it was Rosanna Paisano. You were right.
Wow.
I just was like that. Rosanna Paisano sounds like a fake name. Was all I said.
Oh, but
like
Ruben Bressler.
Well, you have to have some creativity to come up with something as ridiculous as Ruben Bressler. Rosanna Paisano looks like you literally just like stole the first two words that you saw off the wall.
So, real quick, we got to roll back here to our giveaway. Our giveaway of an Ultra Pro Ice Tower deck box, a $15 deck box. That's how sweet this thing is.
It's a sweet deck box. I like it.
Mr. Trevor W. from Salt Lake City, congratulations.
Yeah.
Because you have won yourself a sweet Ice Tower deck box. And I'll be emailing you tomorrow. We'll take care of the deets. You know, you can give me your address and stuff, and we can go from there. So we can send you super cool stuff, and that's awesome. So congratulations to him.
Congrats.
Well done.
And we turn the corner to the finisher. Now, the finisher this week, it was found out this week that the screenwriters originally working on the film are no longer working on the Magic the Gathering movie. And no one really knows exactly where it's at right now. So since the movie seems lost in the multiverse, where do you think it'll end up now, Ruben?
Well, I certainly hope that it ends up sliding across the desk of one Mr. Seth Rogen, so that he can cast all of his friends in it like he always does, and then we also get a super high James Franco, the Mind Sculptor.
So baked, bro. So baked. Super baked.
Whoa, I'm brainstorming.
Right now.
Look at the top card and then immediately forget what you just saw.
Yes.
Let's do it again. It's a zero effect. Aaron?
Well, I really like what Netflix did with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and the whole Defenders series. Plus, that means we can cast Iron Fist as a Johnny and then forget about them because they both suck.
Oh.
Hey, come on.
Oh.
Johnny's not that bad.
Oh.
Johnny's terrible.
Johnny is just this weird
There's
character.
no defending Iron Fist, but
Iron Fist, random dude with a glowy fist. Okay.
Sure.
So, well, let me tell you, coming this summer from the director of The Patriot and Braveheart, Academy Award winner Mel Gibson presents the super violent and kind of racist Gatewatch. So, that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ruben.
thank you.
Always a pleasure for both of you guys. We're going to go to our final slide. Catch us online at twitch.tv/MagicMikes, on Twitter at MagicMikesCast, on Reddit at reddit.com/r/MagicMikes, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/MagicMikes. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.